you're lying awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering why it feels like your life is on pause. You've done the healing. You've walked away from the toxic cycles. You've spent nights crying over connections that broke you, quietly asking why it's taking so long, and when it's finally going to be your turn. What you don't realize is that right now, in the silence that feels so heavy and empty, something massive is shifting. A collision is being orchestrated entirely behind the scenes. Carl Jung called it the process of individuation, but you might know it as divine timing. And the terrifying, beautiful truth is this: the person you are desperately waiting for isn't just on their way. Their psychological journey is already rushing toward yours. But if you don't understand what is happening beneath the surface right now, you are going to miss them entirely. When we talk about your soulmate drawing near, we aren't talking about someone simply traveling across physical space to find you. We are talking about a deep, invisible convergence. Two separate psychological paths that have been growing independently are now approaching a point of profound intersection. This isn't random luck. It is the direct result of countless internal shifts, deep realizations, and personal struggles that both of you have had to brutally navigate. Think back on your own life for a moment. The relationships that shattered you, the stretches of isolation that felt suffocating, the unanswered questions that kept echoing in your mind at 2 a.m. These were never roadblocks. They were absolute prerequisites. Every single agonizing experience was stretching your capacity to recognize, welcome, and maintain a truly deep connection. If this person had walked into your life any earlier, you wouldn't have had the lens to see them clearly. You would have likely overlooked them, misunderstood their depth, or pushed them away out of fear. That is the great paradox of timing. We constantly crave the final outcome long before we've built the foundation required to hold it. Life's delays aren't punishments or rejections. They are periods of crucial, intense preparation. At the exact same time, this evolution isn't just happening inside of you. Somewhere just out of your view, another person is enduring their own profound transformation. They are wrestling with their own demons, healing their internal divides, and slowly evolving into someone capable of meeting you far beyond surface-level chemistry. What ultimately pulls the two of you together isn't just basic compatibility, it's resonance. It's a shared psychological readiness that sparks an undeniable magnetic recognition. Jung spoke of synchronicity as meaningful coincidences, events with no obvious cause and effect link, yet carrying immense significance when they happen. When divine timing activates, these patterns become impossible to ignore. Encounters stop feeling like accidents. Moments lock into place with a precision that will literally give you chills. You might feel a profound sense of guidance, not in a magical sense, but in a way that points to a deeper, hidden order organizing your life. But to truly see this, your perspective has to pivot. Instead of constantly asking, "When is this going to happen?" you have to start asking, "What is currently being built within me?" That one question changes everything. It pulls you out of a passive, desperate waiting room and puts you in the driver's seat of your own evolution. Because the reality is, divine timing isn't something separate from you. It's not an outside force pushing puzzle pieces around while you sit back. It is intimately tied to your psychological state, your awareness, and your courage to face your own inner landscape. The harder you fight your own growth, the further away this meeting gets. But the second you lean into it, you feel a subtle shift, a deep, suspenseful knowing that something is arriving, not from the outside world, but from the very architecture of your own life. So the real question isn't if your soulmate is coming. That momentum is already in motion. The question is whether you will be awake enough to recognize the moment they step into your reality. Because perfect timing rarely announces itself with fireworks. It walks in softly, unexpectedly, and demands only one thing from you: absolute presence. If you aren't paying attention, you will miss what was always meant to be yours. Accepting that a profound encounter is organizing itself means we have to face a deeply uncomfortable truth. Readiness isn't automatic. You don't get it just because you want it really badly. It is built through deliberate and often highly painful inner work. Emotional and spiritual preparation isn't a luxury. It's a psychological survival requirement. Jung taught us that the human mind isn't a perfectly unified sanctuary. It is layered, messy, and often at war with itself. We carry unhealed conflicts, unexamined fears, and parts of ourselves we've buried alive. Jung called this hidden realm the shadow, and it is this exact shadow that violently forces its way out the moment you get close to someone. Most people look for a soulmate to complete them, desperately hoping another person will magically fix their internal chaos. Psychologically, this is a recipe for destruction. Instead of seeing the person in front of us, we project all our unhealed, bleeding parts onto them. We expect them to heal wounds they didn't inflict, provide a stability we haven't built, and validate an identity we aren't even sure of yet. Preparation is mandatory. Without it, the most beautiful, fated connection will quickly devolve into toxic confusion and conflict. To prepare emotionally means taking fierce, unforgiving ownership of your internal weather. It means looking honestly at your past, not to live there, but to decode it. The cycles you repeat, the out-of-proportion reactions, the random spikes of terrifying anxiety, these aren't flukes. They are your unresolved psyche screaming for attention. Until you bring them into the light, they will hijack your life behind your back. We avoid this work because it hurts. It shatters the idealized image we have of ourselves and proves we aren't as healed as we pretend to be. But leaning into that exact, terrifying discomfort is where your true transformation starts. Spiritual preparation here isn't about chanting or rigid beliefs. It's about becoming deeply, unshakably intimate with your inner world. It's the ability to watch your darkest thoughts and heaviest feelings without instantly becoming them. It's mastering the gap between feeling a sudden trigger and realizing it's just a passing shadow. This gap saves relationships. When you can't separate from your trauma reactions, you turn your partner into the enemy. A split second of insecurity turns into a vicious attack. A tiny doubt becomes a fatal character flaw. Over time, that heavy, paranoid weight crushes the bond. But when you've done the heavy lifting, you change completely. You stop reacting and start responding. You become grounded enough to treat your partner as a separate human being, not a mirror for your past traumas. You listen better. You drop the suffocating pressure for them to be your savior. This doesn't make you distant. It creates true intimacy, a bond built on mutual sight, not desperate dependency. You see them and you let them see you, completely without armor. This readiness isn't an overnight hack. It's a lifelong, messy practice of brilliant insights, painful steps backward, and relentless patience. The goal isn't to be flawless. It's to be fiercely aware. Once awareness clicks in, it changes how you experience everything. You step into love, not as a half person begging to be whole, but as a whole person ready to participate in something profound. You stop asking them to carry the weight of your past. So, if this meeting is close, don't ask if you are perfectly ready. Ask if you are willing to bleed a little, to do the work that creates readiness. The depth of your connection won't be decided by fate alone. It will be decided by the work you've done in the dark before they even say hello. Skip the work and you might meet them, but you'll never truly know them. As you take this inner journey seriously, life starts to get intensely weird. Random events start weaving into undeniable patterns. Numbers, symbols, or ideas repeat so aggressively you feel like you're losing your mind. The instinct is to either obsess over them as magical clues or cynically write them off as nonsense. But Jung's Synchronicity offers the truth. He didn't say the universe was sending you a text message, nor did he say it was fake. He suggested that sometimes your inner psychological state perfectly mirrors an outer event. Signs aren't fortune cookies. They are real-time reflections of your rising awareness. If a certain name or number keeps stalking you, the magic isn't in the number. The magic is in the fact that your psyche is finally awake enough to highlight it. Your mind is scanning the world and locking on to what matches your internal frequency. But do not mistake these signs for strict instructions. Don't force them to validate the fantasy you desperately want to happen. Instead of asking, "What is this telling me to do?" ask, "Why am I suddenly seeing this pattern right now? What is waking up inside me?" Use it as a mirror, not a map. Intuition works the exact same way. It's not a superpower. It's your subconscious rapidly connecting millions of invisible dots and feeding you a feeling of absolute deep knowing. When synchronicities happen, your intuition lights up like a siren. You feel the heavy gravity of a moment. Don't blindly obey it, but do not dare ignore it. Let it prompt you to pay closer attention to your thoughts. Stay brutally grounded, though. The human mind loves to invent patterns when it's starving for a specific outcome. Balance an open mind with razor-sharp awareness. These signs simply suggest your inner and outer worlds are harmonizing, paving the way for a collision. Refine your focus. When your awareness is sharp enough, you won't need a repeating number to recognize the person standing right in front of you. As you feel this alignment rushing toward you, a massive, terrifying temptation will rise up in your chest, the urge to take control. You'll want to force the timeline, pull the strings, and guarantee the outcome. While totally natural, this desperate reaction fundamentally misunderstands how real, fated connections work. Releasing control doesn't mean giving up or playing dead. It means shifting from aggressive, anxious insistence to calm, powerful receptivity. Control is just a trauma response to the unknown. We try to soothe our panic by writing the script in advance, obsessively imagining how they'll look, what they'll say, and how it will all play out. But reality never reads from our scripts. Jung warned that the unconscious mind brings us what we need, which is often the exact, shocking opposite of what we planned. When you micromanage your life, you strangle your own potential. You limit your future to only what your current, limited mind can comprehend. In love, rigid expectations mean you are dating a ghost, not a human being. Letting go is the ultimate act of psychological bravery. It gives the other person permission to just exist. This requires immense, terrifying trust not in the universe, but in your own ability to survive your life's unfolding. If your past is a graveyard of letdowns, your brain will scream at you to stay in control so you don't get hurt again. But that armor becomes your prison. Trusting the process means accepting that uncertainty isn't a threat. It's the chaotic birthplace of everything new. When you obsess over the outcome, you live as a ghost in the future. You treat today as a miserable waiting room. And while you are staring at the clock, you might entirely miss the miracle quietly sitting next to you. Releasing control violently snaps you back to the present. It makes you flexible, responsive, and wide open. True alignment never needs to be forced. It just needs space to land. If you follow this all the way through, if you've walked through the fire of preparation, dropped the reins, and stayed wide awake, you finally arrive at the meeting itself. And I promise you, it is rarely the soft, fairy tale resolution you imagine. Meeting this person doesn't magically end your internal tension. It throws gasoline on it. A profound bond is the ultimate catalyst for your own psychological reckoning. Standing next to someone who sees straight through to your soul amplifies your greatest, most beautiful strengths. But it also shines a massive, blinding spotlight on your deepest insecurities and most toxic habits. This is why finally meeting them feels equal parts magnetic and terrifying. You recognize them in your bones, but your old life suddenly feels violently disrupted. The comfortable coping mechanisms you relied on stop working. You are forced to change. They aren't completing you. They are exposing you to yourself through every late-night conversation, every raw emotional trigger, and every moment of breathtaking vulnerability. It strips away every mask you ever wore. When the heat turns up, many people panic and run. They assume the intense discomfort means it's the wrong person, but psychologically, tension means the alchemy is working. Friction means you are evolving. If you've done your preparation, you can handle this fire without burning the entire relationship down. The connection becomes a sacred arena for mutual evolution. It's not a stagnant, happily ever after. It's a living, breathing, sometimes exhausting process, demanding brutal honesty and constant, courageous adaptation. Your entire worldview shifts. You stop asking, "Is this the one?" and start asking, "How can I show up fully, without my armor, for the person sitting across from me?" You listen harder. You watch your own reactions like a hawk. The bond deepens not because it's flawless, but because you are both living it completely, unapologetically awake. This is the ultimate secret you need to hear right now. The real value of meeting your soulmate isn't the initial high. It is the absolute foundational transformation they trigger within you. They alter the course of your life and push you, sometimes painfully, toward the highest version of yourself. So when they finally walk in, don't ask if they are the answer to all your problems. Ask what new, terrifying, and beautiful questions their presence awakens inside you. Because a true connection isn't measured by how safe it makes you feel. It's measured by how relentlessly it compels you to grow. And if you have the courage to accept that challenge, this meeting won't just change your life. It will completely, irreversibly transform who you are.